So we are going to record.
I believe that we can start, right? Okay, so we are starting. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on synergies between EU framework programs and EU structural and investment funds. My name is Carolina Medeiros and I'm joining you today from the Regional Fund for Science and Technology, FRCT, from the Regional Government of the Azores and Portugal, where I work as a project officer. So it's a real pleasure to me and an honor to moderate today's webinar. This webinar is jointly organized by FRCT and the Spanish National Research Council, CSIC, partners of the widerAdvance facility project, and this is part of the awareness webinar series. In fact, this is our fourth webinar. Let me just Okay, before we get started, just a few housekeeping rules. This webinar is being recorded. Both the recordings and the presentations will be shared with all participants afterwards, but email, and also be available through the project website. Your microphones are muted by default to ensure the best possible sound quality. Please feel free to post your questions at any time in the Q&A section here on Zoom. You'll find it in the bottom toolbar. We will address all the questions during the dedicated Q&A session at the end of this webinar. We will also have some interactive exercises using the Slido, so please have your phones and computers ready to this exercise. We will share the QR codes when the time arises. Finally, we will appreciate your feedback at the end of this webinar through a short survey. This will help us to fine-tune the next webinar series. Regarding our agenda for today, we will start with a brief introduction to the webinar objectives and a warm-up exercise, just to get to know a little bit better of our audience. After then, we will have the core webinar itself that is structured around 5 main themes. We will talk about upstream synergies, downstream synergies, the role of smart specialization, also the funding of excellent but unfunded projects through the Seals of Excellence mechanism and other synergies between EU programs. We will wrap up with a Q&A session, an interactive quiz, and also with the short feedback survey. As this is a 2 hours webinar, we will take a 5 minutes break halfway through, just to give everyone a moment to recharge. Regarding today's webinar, its objectives is to enhance understanding and awareness of how different EU funding instruments can work together and to maximize the impact in research and innovation, particularly in widening countries and outermost regions. Through this webinar, you are supposed to understand the concepts of upstream and downstream synergies, exploring how ESIF and ERDF can both build capacity and valorize results from FP-funded projects. Also, to learn about the role of smart specialization strategies, discover the Seal of Excellence mechanism, explore complementarities among EU funding programs, and of course, to gain insights from practical examples that will be given by our panel of speakers. Regarding our speakers, we are very pleased to welcome our experts for today. We will have first Dr. Vasiliki Halodimou, National Contact Point for Widening Participation from Praxi Network from Greece. We will also have Dr. Alicia Voto. Dr. Alicia is a researcher scientist at the Spanish National Research Council in Tenerife. Dr. Boto leads the synthesis of drugs and bioactive compounds group and has expertise in technology and knowledge transfer with several patents licensed and internationally and several collaborations on pharmaceuticals, chemicals, and agrotechnology companies. We also have today with us Dr. Mathieu Dosinou, policy analyst and researcher at FE Center in Brussels. He previously worked for 9 years as a policy analyst at the European Commission Joint Research Center. His work focused on governance of place-based innovation policies and design and implementation of smart specialization strategies. He also actively was involved in the Stairway of Excellence initiative, supporting synergies between EU funding instruments implemented with DG Regio and supported by the European Parliament. We will also have, joining us later, Dr. Rui Munha, Senior Scientist Officer at the Foundation for Science and Technology from Portugal. He coordinates the national contact points for scientific excellence and for the widening participation under Horizon Europe. Is also a national delegate for the European Research Council and member of the governing board of the Coast Association. Together, these 4 panelists bring complementarity perspectives from EU policy and funding implementation to regional development and innovation management. So before we dive into the content, we can start with a quick Slido warm-up. So if you are joining us through the computer, please go to slido.com and enter the code that you see. And if you have your smartphones, just scan the QR code. We are giving you a few moments to this. Let me just change to the Slido. Okay. Okay, so please feel free to type your country or region. We are very happy to see how many parts of Europe we have here today, perhaps behind Europe. Okay, many regions. I see some Portuguese cities here. It's very good being Portuguese. Some autonomous regions as well. Associated countries, widening countries. Malta, Guadeloupe. It seems that the majority is coming from Canary Islands and Bragança in Portugal. Okay, so we have to move for the next question. Thank you. So the next question is, how familiar are you with synergies between EU funding instruments for research and innovation, for example, the Horizon Europe or other cohesion funds? You can choose from not familiar at all to very familiar, or I work with funding synergies. Let's wait for the results. Okay. Well, it seems that we have very experienced audience where there is a mix here, so which is perfect. Today's session will be useful for both of those that are familiar with the concept, and we hope to give some insights for the ones that are experts already. Thank you for sharing this. So the third question is, what do you expect to learn or take away from today's webinar? What's your expectations for today? Okay, some great points coming in. Some are waiting for some practical guidance. That's great. More ability to seek and follow up funding. Great. Improve your knowledge. Okay. Yes, we are covering all of these aspects in today's webinar, which is great. So thank you so much, you all, to participating in this warm-up. We just stop sharing this one and then go for the other presentation. Okay. Okay, so let's get started. And as you know, the widerAdvance project intends to leverage and support the NCPs, the national contact points, especially those that work with the wider NCPs. And for the presentation of the project itself, we invited Mrs. Vasiliki Kalodimu to present the widerAdvance facility from the point of view of a national contact point towards the potential of users for the facility services. So Vasiliki, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you very much for inviting me to present the widerAdvance facility. If I may ask, if I may use a presentation that is handled by me, if that's okay with you. May I share? Thanks. Okay. Can you see my presentation in a slide share mode? Thank you very much. So thank you very much again for asking me to present this widerAdvance facility project. But first of all, what is it? Okay, the widerAdvance facility, it is an EU-funded project that has been funded by the Widera work program, as many widening projects. It was funded, I think, in the work program of 2021-22, and it is a duration, and this project has a duration of 48 months. Namely, it will have a project life until the end of December of 2028. So we call it, I think this project is called a facility because it has a very strategic objective, which is to amplify the role in the EU innovation landscape of widening countries, both those that were in Horizon 2020 as well as those that were in Horizon Europe. And the means that this project aims to do that is to build capacities for dissemination and exploitation of key exploitable results that have been generated in connection to widening actions, both in Horizon 2020 as well as in Horizon Europe. Therefore, the motto of this project and the core objective is to build capacities in the valorization of knowledge. Now, the target groups of the facility. First of all, it is addressed to organizations from widening countries and outermost regions, namely organizations that were considered eligible widening countries, both in Horizon 2020 and in Horizon Europe. These organizations can be or can have been partners in widening projects or coordinators. And therefore, this widerAdvance facility aims to service, and I will explain how, beneficiaries of widening projects, closed actions or running actions, irrespective of their role, namely as partner or as our coordinator. Now, it focuses on research teams that were responsible for generating or are associated with certain key exploitable results produced by the widening actions, as well as the non-research staff, namely there is the managers and administrators, the RMAs, who are assisting actively in the research and innovation process, because these two groups, especially the latter one, are very high in the policy agenda of the European Commission. Therefore, the project provides services to beneficiaries of widening action in relation to key exploitable results or cares, which have been produced directly by widening action, or also indirectly. By indirectly, we mean that if, for example, a team received capacity building on an X domain, and as the result of that capacity building, it was able to advance their research and generate some results, then this also qualifies to be serviced by the facility. But we will show you how in the next slides. So the facility is articulated through a very large open call with intermediate cutoff dates, but this can be shared a little bit later on. And the services that are offered to the beneficiaries of the facility, who are also beneficiaries of widening actions, past or closed, have to do with the following services: dissemination and exploitation academy workshop type of service, where the research teams and the RMAs responsible for key exploitable results out of the widening projects will be coached to use widely accepted methodologies in order to mature the adoption readiness level of their key exploitable results. As a practical case, their very own key exploitable results will serve in order to apply methodologies. Then selected key exploitable results will receive support with intangible assets, namely IP protection options and how to develop your strategy. So by the end of these services, the research teams and the RMAs will have a knowledge to produce dissemination and exploitation plans. Of course, depending on the nature of the key exploitable result, there will be support with standardization, coaching, in order to pitch before non-academic parties or potential partners. And these very core and very important services are also complemented by matchmaking events organized by the project, which will be tailored around the holders of key exploitable results. Study visits will be organized so that RMAs can have access to excellent excellent networks and see how other organizations have support structures around valorization. They will also receive training and coaching on accessing follow-up synergies. So today's webinar is like a preliminary taste of more customized support that they can receive by applying to the facility, as well as they will have access to general awareness raising webinars as today's one, as well as to more specialized in-depth that they will be exclusively available for them. How to apply now, okay, and how you can access the services. Of course, as we said, excuse me. Oh, sorry, I just missed something. So hold on. So this service is configured around a wide open call that has been running since May 2025 and will remain open until sometime in 2028. This open call is facilitated through intermediate collection dates, namely the cutoff. Recently, we've had our second cutoff, which was at the 31st of October, and now we are running for the third cutoff, which is at the end of January 2026. Now, if you become beneficiary, if you're an organization beneficiary of widening actions and you become a beneficiary, you will receive your own individual service plan. You will gain, among others, knowledge on follow-up funding. You will have your staff, your organization staff related to widening actions trained on dissemination and exploitation issues, and the project will help beneficiaries build links with industry, investors, etc. Now, as I said, the third cutoff is open, namely you can send your application with indicating your key exploitable results at any time, but just be aware that the next collection date will be on January 31st. The application is very, very simple. All it takes is to gather the key exploitable results, have a title, have a very small description, know what is the project, the widening project it is connected to, and then you're ready to hit your application. And there are many benefits for applying to the facility, and the most important one is that research teams and RMAs will have a standard knowledge on valorization, on dissemination and exploitation, so that they can go very, very directly and very, very focused in their actual exploitation actions without losing time by experimenting in activities that may not lead to the desired result. Through the facility, you will have the knowledge to really be certain about your future steps. So this was all from my part. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vasiliki, for that clear overview of the project. I believe that now our audience has a solid understanding of the benefits of the widerAdvance facility, and hopefully we can have, they will feel inspired to submit a proposal in our next cutoff. So now we'll move to the next speaker, and I have the pleasure to give the floor to Dr. Alicia Boto from the Spanish National Research Council in Tenerife. She will guide us through the core of this webinar, guiding through the concept of upstream synergies and downstream synergies, and also share her insights on how these funding instruments can work together. So Alicia, if you want to share your screen, please.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the presentation. Can you see the screen all right? Okay, so it's a pleasure for me to be here, and I will talk about, do you see the full screen or just okay, now the full screen. Mm-hmm. So I will start talking about the synergies between the EU programs and the structural and investment funds. I'm going to repeat a bit the index in the previous section, and the first section would be what are upstream synergies and what are downstream synergies. And then we will talk the role of Smart Specialisation, coffee break, and funding excellent pattern funding proposal, to finish with other synergies between other programs and the quiz and survey section. So we start talking about the upstream synergies and the nature of the different EU programs. Well, the European Union needs that its funding instruments work together. That is, to create synergies in order to maximize impact and avoid duplication. Especially important are the synergies between the framework programs of the European Union, such as Horizon Europe, which are excellent driver, and the European structural and investment funds, such as the European Regional Development Fund, which are regionally centered. We are going to see more details right now. Now, to take home, the framework programs fund excellence in research, innovation, and so on, while the ESIF funds capacity building and infrastructure in specific regions. Now we have a table in which this difference between these two types of programs are shown. For instance, in the objectives, while the framework programs search for excellence in research and innovation, European competitiveness in global challenge, not only European or regional challenge, but worldwide challenge, the ESIF funds look for economic, social, and territorial cohesion and regional development, and they are tailored to meet regional needs. About the management. In FP, it's centralized, it depends from Brussels, while in the case of the ESIF, it is shared between the Brussels and the member states and regions. The focus, about the focus. Well, the FP looks for new knowledge, breakthrough innovation in high technology readiness levels, and also supports risky research and innovation, whose results are interesting but are not clear in the results. While the ESIF funds are more conservative, they are oriented to build capacity, infrastructure, market uptake of results, and create regional ecosystem. It does not favor very risky proposals, but rather proven solutions which are able to be implemented in the regions. Which type of projects do they work with? Well, FP with competitive, collaborative research and innovation projects, and in the case of the SIF, they are more diverse, from infrastructure to human capital, and often local and regional oriented. The flexibility. The framework is less flexible because it has to meet strict EU-level rules, while the ESIF is more flexible and has national and regional adaptation. The funding rates are often higher in the FP program, covering significant eligible cost, while in the case of ESIF, they are variable, requiring substantial national co-financing. And we all know that in this kind of programs, a part is financed, let's say, by the agriculture or the regional development funds, and the other parts by the same country or regional authority. Finally, for the beneficiaries, in the case of FP, they are research organizations, universities, and large companies, and even companies, small companies, but it's oriented to research departments, and so on. In the case of the SIF, we can see apparently similar beneficiaries, but they do not need to be oriented to research, for instance, in administration, which does not research, but implemented this research and helps to take it to the society, can also participate as a beneficiary. We will see more examples later on. In summary, we are going to talk about 3 types of programs. The FP programs, the most important is Horizon Europe. It has 95.5 billion in the American way of euros. Now there are the funds, such the Regional Development Fund and the European Social Funds shown here, which has a part in yellow devoted to research. The rest in green is not devoted to research, but direct support, direct help to the agricultures, let's say, or to other entities. The EAFRD fund is devoted to agriculture, forestry, and rural infrastructures, while the EMFAIF is devoted to fisheries and to sea economy. Well, the last one is devoted to programs which are connected to research and innovation activities. For instance, we all have heard of U for Health, which was implemented during the COVID pandemic, but we also have Digital Europe, devoted to digital development, Connecting Europe facility, and the program LIFE for the environment, the educational program Erasmus, and the final single market program. We will talk about them later, but please have in account that we will talk about 3 kinds of programs. So we start now with the upstream strategies. What are they? Well, they consist on using regional structural funds, the ESIF, to build capacity and excellence within a region, for instance, our widening countries, so that its researchers and companies are prepared to win highly competitive Europe-level grants, that is, the Horizon Europe. So, in example, we can use these regional-based funds to build laboratories with top equipment. And then this favors a high level of research in a certain region, and so we have teams which can present successful application to the framework program. Another very well-known example of these synergies is the use of ESIF funds, especially the regional development funds, in national calls. So half of the national call is paid by the ministry or the country government, and half of it is paid by European funds of this type. And in this way, researchers can acquire experience, infrastructure, and so on, and later on apply to the framework program. Now, if you want to know more about success stories, I would recommend this a small book, which is also in the web. But returning to our arrow, let's say, what can this ESIF fund support? ESIF is the main instrument for the European Union cohesion policy, and it has several funds. The European Regional Development Fund is the first one and the most important. Then it comes the European Social Fund plus the Cohesion Fund, the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund. So we will talk now about the first one, the European Regional Development, which corrects imbalance between its regions. It serves to invest in innovation and research, digital agenda, support for small and medium enterprise, and low carbon economy in the different regions. Here we have a web page where we can find more detailed information about it. Especially known among the calls supported by the regional development funds are the Interreg, because they are oriented to address the needs of different European regions. You can see more information in this webpage, interreg.eu. But Interreg serves to create networks, for instance, cross-border cooperation. We see here an example between Portugal and the western part of Spain. We can also create transnational cooperation and interregional cooperation, and also cooperation between the bulk of Europe and its outermost regions, such as Azores, Madeira, the Canary Islands, the French Guiana, the island of Reunion, and so on. We have an example of this support activity. For instance, with the Interreg Europe program, a province, a region in Romania, in the southwest Romania, was able to build a hub, including 4 research centers with 12 laboratories equipped with innovative technologies and equipment. It was able to operate in 6 areas of strategic innovative activities, such as advanced technologies, mechanical technologies, mechatronic systems, nuclear technologies, renewable energies, and innovative technologies, and so on. So, with this infrastructure and the experience acquired by the research groups, they can be able to apply to very ambitious programs such as Horizon Europe. A very important thing, a region may have different expertise, but they may not be connected. The groups may not be connected between them. So these programs fund or make possible that expertise A joins expertise B and expertise C to create new research and innovation lines, new expertise. And with multidisciplinary approaches, there is more possibility of success in Horizon Europe call. Well, we go on with what can ESIF support. We have seen the Regional Development Fund, and now we are going to the European Social Fund Plus. This fund is also very important, and it aims to improve employment opportunities, promote social inclusion, and invest in education, skill, and lifelong learning. For instance, the European Social Fund sponsors training to improve skills needed in research, development, and innovation, according to the needs of different European regions. You have a useful web page here. For instance, in Spain and other countries, these funds supported skills development for the green and digital transition, particularly through vocational education and training systems. And in the Czech Republic, namely South Moravia, the project SOMO Pro 3 used these funds to attract and train researchers in regional priority subjects. Interestingly, this program had synergy with Horizon Europe Marie Curie actions. So we can see here how 2 different programs can collaborate among them. Finally, they foster collaboration, such as collaborative training projects between universities, research entities, and companies. As you know, 2 years ago, we had the European Year of Skill, and it was funded by European Social Funds. Finally, it supports regional strategy. For instance, it has supported calls for postdoctoral fellowships to enhance regional research excellence. In the French Brittany region, this social fund provided not money support, but provided expert assistance to evaluate over 400 postdoctoral applications in the Bienvenue Marie Curie Co-Fund program. So they were aimed at priority regional sectors such as maritime, food, and digital sectors. So we can see again another synergy between these ESIF and Horizon Europe funds. Now, quickly, we will mention the cohesion funds, which is aimed to support the state with low national income per capita in environment, transport, and so on. The European Agriculture Fund for Rural Development, which supports policies in agriculture, forestry, and rural infrastructure, and the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund. All of them have small amounts dedicated to research and innovation, to support research and innovation. Now, we have talked about the ESIF and regional development funds, which will help to prepare research and entities to apply successfully to the framework programs. So let's talk about the framework programs. What do they support? Well, they support research and technological development and promote excellent research. This is a key concept, and collaboration at a European level, not a regional level, a European and even worldwide level. Well, you have a very useful link here in this Science Europe webpage, and the current framework program is Horizon Europe. It will last from the 21 to the 27 in 2 years' time, and it has a large budget, 95.5 billion euros. Horizon Europe is structured around 3 pillars. The first one is excellent science. Pillar 2 is global challenge and European industrial competitiveness. And pillar 3 is innovative Europe. Now again, this webpage is useful. You will have the presentation in our web, so don't worry, you will have that. And this slide shows these specific programs. Pillar 1 is devoted to excellent science and to promote competitiveness. And it includes program calls such as the European Research Council. As you know, they have many different calls. They are research and promote research excellence and multidisciplinary research. Then we have the Maria Sklodowska-Curie programs to form talent and to bring talent from different parts of Europe and from abroad. And finally, research infrastructure. Now, pillar 2 is devoted to global challenge and European industrial competitiveness, that we are able to compete with different parts of the world, in Asia, America, and so on. It has 6 clusters: health, culture, creativity, and inclusive society, civil security for society, digital, industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, and food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. And finally, it has a joint research center. Now, the third and last pillar is Innovative Europe, which is devoted to create a market from innovation and helping Europe companies, especially the small and medium enterprise, to become world leaders, to advance and find their place in a world market. So Pillar 3 has the European Innovation Council, the European Innovation Ecosystem, and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, which has many goals. Now we can see the Horizon Europe also has on the left a part devoted to European defense, and it's expected that this budget will grow in the next years due to our special situation. And on the bottom of the slide, we can see that we have a part devoted to our widening countries and outermost regions. So there is a very considerable part of the budget dedicated to widening area. And on the right, there is the Euratom, which is devoted to new nuclear technologies. But the important thing in this slide are the budget in the first square. So most of the budget of Horizon Europe is devoted to formation activities in the Maria Sklodowska-Curie actions. Then a considerable part is devoted to research infrastructures, also to culture, creativity, inclusive society. Please notice that we are talking about billions, thousand millions of euros. Then civil security for society, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment with 7.4 billion. This is one of the largest budgets. And then we have this one devoted to widening participation and spreading excellence in our area of widening countries, 2.6 billion euros. Finally, reforming and enhancing European research and innovation with 500 million. Well, before we finish, I would like to tell those who are preparing to apply to a framework program call that there is a list of proposals published online by principal investigator. So go to this page, please, because it's very useful, because the successful principal investigator have uploaded their proposal there, but some unsuccessful principal investigators have also uploaded their proposal there. And by comparing them and the referees' comments, you can deduce very useful information when you apply it. And now we pass to the second section, what are downstream synergies? Now, downstream synergies go from the framework programs to the regional funds. So, using regional funds, ESIF, to implement or commercialize the successful result of a project that was initially funded by a framework program. The framework program creates the results, and then we implement them in the different regions using the ESIF funds. An example, for instance, there are two related projects. In this project, in the Horizon Europe called Space, it was developed a video imaging system for Earth observation, namely a hyperspectral and multispectral cameras. Now, with the experience acquired in developing these cameras, these new cameras, they were set up in drones and used in a different project which met regional needs, namely to implement precision agriculture and improve wine production in the Macaronesia region, Canary Island, Madeira, and Azores. And as you can see, the hyperspectral camera was devoted now to record an image of the land and detect which part of the vineyards have problems due to draw or to place or to different problems. So another example is this one, in which a delivery bot prototype is developed using a Horizon Europe project, and then is scaled up to a demonstration plant or commercial production facility using the regional development funds and improving a region's industrial park. A second example is the development of a new educational tool using a framework program project and then implementing it into regional centers using the ESIF funds. We can see in this page another example. For instance, a German company had developed a technology to produce cement using greener technology, and then the ESIF fund allowed them to produce new production facilities in Hessen. And now we go to a very important example in upstream strategies and the role of smart specialization. Now, this part will be taught by our invited guests, but just a slide just to summarize this. This smart specialization is an example of upstream technologies, strategies, and the research and innovation strategies for smart specialization are national or regional strategies that force regions to identify and focus investment on a small number of areas where they have a competitive advantage. And it's compulsory for using the regional development funding. And why is important this smart specialization? These regional priorities should be aligned with the goals of Horizon Europe, and in this way, the European Union ensures that regional spending reinforces the impact of European grants. And now we have the delight to introduce to our invited guest, Mathieu Dosineau from the European Future Innovation System, who is going to talk us about this smart specialization. So I believe that you prepared to share your presentation.
It is already shared, Alicia. Yeah, I think.
Okay. So
okay?
I'm going to stop my presentation, and please use your own presentation.
You've said everything. Actually, you defined smart specialization, so you've done the job. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay.
No, just it was mandatory, but it's not mandatory anymore. It was mandatory in the period 2014 to 2020. And since like 2021, it's not mandatory to spend the ERDF money through the S3. But I will explain actually. Thank you for giving me the floor.
Oh, thank you for clearing up this point. And so this is the lack of having an expert in this area. Thank you, Mathieu.
Thank you, Alicia. Yes, that's a really interesting topic, actually. Actually, my presentation will be kind of like dynamic in a sense. I will explain like where this concept is coming from and maybe where are we going. As you know, it is now like 2025. We still have like 2 years more, but what's gonna happen after? I would like to present you like where we are and the big questions, and maybe the role of the project widerAdvance and your role as participant, as actors of the regional or national ecosystems, because we may have our like our say in the actual implementation of like European policy. Just as I said, I will, but Alicia started to present and to define what is the S3 concept. I will like have like some slides on that. Then I will present you the evolution of the concept, and it evolved since the beginning quite a lot. We'll see and we'll question where this concept is going now. You may have heard like some interesting information, and do some prospective scenario. Where are we going? What is the opportunity and threat for regional policies? And if you are working in regional agencies or intermediaries, maybe you may be directly impacted with like what is being discussed now in Brussels. Okay. It is like the two next slides actually are the kind of like historical slides. I took that from old presentation we used as like a, I think Carolina presented. I was working for the Joint Research Center of the European Commission in Seville for the Smart Specialisation platform. So I entered the GRC in 2012. So I was like here like for the launching of the concept, and I contribute to spread the good news among the European regions and help like real region to design their S3 strategy and implement. And then I was involved in the Stairway to Excellence project funded by European Parliament. It was to promote the design of synergies between fundings among like mostly like a widening region. Okay, so what these slides, it's just like we are talking about specialization area. It is an interesting example of what we are to understand by specialization area. And many times at the beginning, like a region, like we're like mistaking with like considering specialization area as like sectoral specialization. It was not that. It was like kind of like a mix of like different level of sectors in order to find niche market, niche activities where like region could have like to develop a competitive advantage based on their territorial assets. So the concept of territorial asset, it's really important. We build like a capacity on something we already have, and we make this capacity growing up using public money. So ERDF, ESIF funding, but also like other type of national and even like horizon fundings. Okay, this was a kind of reminder. This is second slides. It is like another historical slide. Is the theoretical background, the 4C. So S3 is based on 4C and plus 1C. And the 4C is competitive advantage. So as I just said, like smart specialization should be made according to territorial assets. So if you want to, if a region wanted to develop like a special area on biotech or nanotech or like all these fancy areas like a few years ago, but not having any SMEs university working on that, it was not making point. So it was to avoid like what we're like seeing like a replication imitation effect of regional innovation strategies. Policy choice, you may have to compromise to among like few options. So the political side was kind of important because this choice like should have been made like at quite high level of the governance. Critical mass of resource of talents. We are talking about pooling resource in order to increase the impact of public fundings. So the S3 concept has been like thought in the first decade of 2000 by a group of researchers, policymakers. You maybe know like the name of Dominique Fauré. And the idea it was to address the lack of impact of structural funds, European structural funds in European regions. So pooling resource, financial resource in like a limited set of areas, okay, in order to avoid duplication and fragmentation. The outward-looking dimensions of S3 is also important. We are talking about the value chain, European value chain, but also international value chains. Specialization area were not thought like in isolation. A region like should think about an area, but also thinking about the choice of other region and even other region of the world, where the knowledge produced by the public funding in which like value chain it will be integrated. The question of complementarity is important. Collaborative leadership, it is really also important. A big novelty of S3, it's the quadruple helix and the entrepreneurial discovery process, like these strange names, maybe like if you don't use to, maybe it's interesting to know it. You know what is maybe the triple helix? The triple helix, the combination between administration, higher education, and business. The fourth component, making the quadruple helix, is the involvement of the citizen, the civil society, in the decision of the Smart Specialisation strategy. Smart Specialisation strategy, it was an ongoing process involving those four components, the quadruple helix. So in the implementation, like meaning like the monitoring and the evaluation of these strategies. And the final C, and we'll see, it is common sense. Because, and this makes sense, what I put like in green, maybe for the future, because the future is a bit worrying for S3. It is what was relevant in 2014 will be relevant after 2028, meaning concentrating resource on specific domain, making value chain, participating in the value chain, attracting talents and so on. It is common sense when we are talking about territorial development and territorial innovation on territories. Okay. This is like the evolution a bit of the S3 concepts. So I had to create these slides because it was not existing, and it's a pure like this is not official slides. It's not official information. It is just like some questions raised by what is happening now at the European level about this like cohesion policy. So we are coming from 2014 to 2020. The concept of regional innovation strategy comes from the period 2007-2013. Even the question of like the concept of synergies between funding, structural funds, and FP7 comes from this period. We just like kind of like in 2014-20 normalized that and created this methodological approach, which was like the Smart Specialisation strategies. But you see, and I won't repeat the feature, but the synergies between fundings were created at that time with a seminal work report published by DG Regio in 2013, defining what was like upstream, downstream strategies. The concept of seal of excellence, like it was thought in the previous period 2007-13, but it was concretely proposed in 2014, and it was like only focused first on the SME measures because it was more beneficiary. It was more simple. Phase 2. What is important? It was a shared management. So regional authorities plus European Commission, DG Regio, with ex-ante conditionality. So the ex-ante conditionality, it was Alicia said, like it was region had to follow this methodology to propose specialist area in order to be able to spend funding the structural funds in like thematic objective 1. I don't know if you remember. Yes, so it was mandatory. The support, but it was GRC, so I was part. It was the GRC platform, S3 platform, you maybe know, plus the GRC Stairway to Excellence initiatives, promoting synergies. Then we saw in 2021-27, kind of like we're like smelling like a change with I was saying like a first period 2020, 2014, 20, it was a full bottom up. Region, what they wanted to propose, it was accepted, and it was like pure according to regional territories and regional like willingness to develop areas, according only if they were like respecting the methodological approach of the Smart Specialisation. 21-27, Commission introduced like a directionality. So maybe you've heard like about transformative policy, transformation. So coming with twin transition, so green transition, the Green Deal, the digital industrial transition, this kind of concepts were like introduced. And region had to embed this like new concept coming from the top, from the Commission, in their Smart Specialisation strategy. Extension of Seal of Excellence. It will be explained after after the break. I don't know if you also checking, but we were like thinking we are moving in our like the taxonomy in the concept from regional to place-based to ecosystem. More and more ecosystem. We are not talking about place-based in 2013, 14. We were like still talking about region. More and more we are going like the granularity is like more and more refined, and we are more at ecosystem level. S3 partnerships were created. So S3 partnerships, it is like the cooperation like between region around a specialization area. The first slide, like the area, actually it is a S3 partnership. So it is like based on the pure willingness of regional authorities to work together in order to develop inter-regional collaboration, in order to develop like inter-regional projects, developed also funded by the new instrument, IS3 instrument, inter-regional investment, innovation investment. It is still a regional shared management. The support has been transferred to the private sector. I was part of that also. So S3 Committee of Practice. The first phase was led by Technopolis and EFIS plus other consultancy. Now it is like under like ECORIS or Prognos will like support region, support you in this implementation. So you will be probably in contact with them, if not yet, but very soon with them. Now the big question is, where are we going? I don't know if you have heard, but things are changing and the world is like moving fast. We are living kind of like an acceleration of the time. First with the war in Ukraine, with Trump re-election, with the Chinese disrupting, for instance, the leading European car industry with like I'm thinking about BYD and so on. So it's like it trigger a lot of question, and maybe it's like pure supposition. Huh? The need for the Commission to react faster, especially with the increase of defense funds, the European defense funds. We are talking about the Schengen defense Schengen. I'm not going to enter in this detail, but we are thinking about a new competitiveness fund. So get prepared. And we are thinking, and it's in red, about renationalizing the cohesion policy. So the agricultural fund, European Maritime and Fishery funds, they are managed at national level. ERDF, mostly, it is managed at regional level. So it is cohesion policies. A Commission is proposing to pool everything in one common pot to be managed at national level. So region would lose their autonomy and there won't be the pre-allocation of funding will disappear for regions. So that is said, like it is a consequence for S3. We don't know what's going to happen with S3. We don't know what's going to happen with S3 partnership with Seal of Excellence, because Seal of Excellence, if we don't have any more ERDF with what to fund the post or the complementarity fundings of FP10. FP10 is the next program. This kind of thing. So it's like question mark. I asked just like I played with and you probably like I hope for you start to use like artificial intelligence, and I had like kind of like by curiosity asked like a Perplexity, the paid version of Perplexity AI. I asked the question about what is the future of S3 concept in the next financial period. He told me everything is fine and S3 will continue and as like nothing happened. So it's not far, not to be sure. It depends, I would say. Like I'm a bit pessimistic, but about the question about the future of coalition policy, actually, Perplexity was relevant and talk about national and regional partnership plans for each member states, replacing of separate programs within just like 20 national and regional plans. Okay, so no more, even like geographical units, the GRegio, I think they will disappear. No more like co-sharing. So it may be shared, it may be like managed at national level. So you may be, and this meeting is maybe important for us and for you and for the project. We'll see after how you can anticipate that and how you can gather evidence in order to defend the good use of synergies and the needs of funding at regional level. Just like this like slide is about the legislative timeline and where we are coming from, where we are. So everything started with, okay, some triggering factors, prepared this, and I talked about this in my previous slides. The Trump election, the war in Ukraine, ongoing Chinese growth with the emergence of Chinese car industry, and many other things. So it started in February this year with the first like communication, and like it was already smelling the content of the legislative proposal for the next multi-annual financial period. And now we are in the phase of negotiation, what we call like interinstitutional negotiation among the Council, Member States, and your Parliament, and the Commission. And here, you may have your say. We have time. We may have relay, association. You're also own like national authorities that may be interested to defend the concept of S3 and regional policy, because what I say, it's like some member states are still defending the cohesion policies as it was before, without denying it needs to be reformed. They are still defending the concept of S3 and the relevance. I guess it is like big countries like Spain or Germany or maybe France, some other less. But yes, so 26 until 27, I think it's going to be like a moment of like intense negotiation. Even if what is almost acquired, like there will be a nationalization of cohesion policies, but until which stage and until what level the Commission gonna let the member state to deal with the entire European money envelope. For instance, will the Commission provide with templates about drafting strategies, like such as like a operational program in the ERDF, very structured? I guess yes, but let's see. And how they're going to be designed, we don't know. The S3, we don't know, but maybe we will have some templates that member states will have to fill up and to then not provide to commission, because it's gonna be like a member state gonna be like should have like totally free hands in the way to manage those fundings. So just like I don't know how long I have. I still have like I still have like 4 slides. Just scenario building, and you could maybe work in the coming months in the widerA facility project. 3 scenarios. The first one, nothing moves. It's very unlikely, so everything continues. We will see like a disruption in the cycle. It's going to be the end of the cycle. This cycle started in 2007 until 2027, and going to be something else. Scenario 3, it's the complete disruption. I don't believe in this complete disruption. Like the cohesion policy is totally killed and disappear, and everything is nationalized, and total freedom is given to member states in the management and spending. No common EU framework, no monitoring, and so on. I don't believe in that. I believe in like intermediate scenario, the scenario 2, meaning like I started like to make some bullet points, like EU cohesion policy will be merged with other like structural funds, ESIF, with the agricultural funds, and also defense funds. And it depends on how like will be the geopolitical situation at that time, but it may impact the regional fundings. Co-management will disappear. Member states want to continuity with some member states want to continue with previous periods and support S3. Which country maybe you could investigate with your national authorities. Funding is allocated to region with a national level. There's a need to align your smart special strategy with EU national priorities. It's a question mark. Maybe yes. In that case, the funding are still managed maybe by regional authorities, by delegation transfer of competency between national and regional authorities. So in red, I put like yourself, because I think we are talking about like you are acting more at regional level here, because we are talking about synergies between structural funds and Horizon. It's like a region will need to provide evidence, so to get funding from national level. So now it's the moment when we are talking synergies to okay, take stock of like good example of what's happening on your territory in terms of good synergies and good combination in terms of complementarity and creation of impacts. All this proof, all this evidence going to serve you to defend your case when your regional authority will ask some fundings for your territory. So developing and showing synergies between Horizon Europe and ESIF will be an asset to demonstrate on potential synergies between FP10 and regional and place-based level. Okay. I'm not going to enter in this graph, it's too complicated. I am working in parallel with Christian Soblans, maybe you know, or maybe you don't know. It's the founder and ex-CEO of ERDF, the association of European Association of Regional Economic Agencies. And we are working about a methodology in order to design regional innovation strategies. So it's kind of like a S3 methodological, but methodological approach, but more precise, I would say, more concrete, and using AI. So you're not gonna. We take like the idea is like you don't have like a lot of resource to spend in the design of your strategy or your regional authorities, and how you to provide evidence to eventually national level to show, okay, we have like a consistent and solid innovation strategy at territorial level, and we need this funding. Okay, so the idea is to like address each of these like a small task, complemented with AI, supported with AI tools. We will publish like in the coming. If you're interested, I will give you my contact. My contact is at the end. But if you want, we could like present like this methodology in a forthcoming workshop. Just verbatim, and I really encourage you to really open your eyes and hear like what's happening, especially in Brussels. I just spoke about URADA, and they organized like 3 weeks ago very interesting workshop about the future of S3, the S3 concepts. I put some verbatim of like participants. I'm not gonna read it, but just maybe I'm gonna pick one. We need to focus on why it didn't work in the past, didn't work well. S3 actually has been the fate of S3 has been like made by a recent report of the European Court of Auditor, pointing the lack of impact of S3, concrete impact of S3, and there is a big debate about methodologically how it was like where it come from, and why, and maybe S3 has been got lost in the process, and we in Europe we created like a really complicated process. You maybe heard about like a multi-level governance. It's really complicated, and maybe it could be a relevant critic. But anyway, I will finish because I see Carolina. Just like a last recommendation: stay tuned, stay informed, collect evidence at your level, get your information, and I just like point like three source of funding. Check on LinkedIn. Maybe on LinkedIn, if you connect on this group, it's as soon as they organize or they publish something, it is published on LinkedIn. I read like this morning a really recent publication about Andrés Rodríguez Posse, criticizing actually the forthcoming like reform of cohesion policy, and its recent paper is like pointing the problem of democratic problem. What brought like the S3 and cohesion policy? It's like a democracy within region, and it's the first time we were like citizens and the society were like taken into account. It's a short paper. It's easy to find if you Google like strengthening the local heart of Europe, POSE. It's in open access. I think I don't know if my time is past, but it's like all what I wanted to say to tell you. So I came with like much more question than response. But I wish you good luck all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mathieu. It was a very insightful presentation. Thank you for that and for sharing your perspective on the evolution of the concept. For sure, it raises several questions and concerns regarding the fundings for regions and the role of S3. And also thank you for the key messages. I think they're very insightful. We will leave the questions for the final Q&A session. Now, I think it's a good time to have just a 5 minutes break so that you can stretch your legs. And it's very quick, but I think it's very useful. We will come back in just 5 minutes, so please stay tuned and see you soon, okay? think that 5 minutes already passed. Just to make sure that I'm not the only one here. I think we have our panelists here with us, Alicia. Okay, just to make sure. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our quick break to recharge. And now we have to move into the next part of our webinar. That is focusing on funding excellent but unfunded proposals through the Seals of Excellence mechanism. Once again, I will give the floor for Alicia Boto from CSIC. She will guide us through this mechanism and how it works in practice. So Alicia, if you want, you can share your screen again.
Thank you very much. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So after the coffee break, I hope you have enjoyed that. We start section 4, funding excellent but unfunded projects. And this belongs to the downstream synergies. Well, projects that are evaluated as being of excellent quality when they apply to a Horizon Europe call still may not be funded due to limited budgets. So when there is no money, but they are recognized to be excellent, they are awarded a seal of excellent labor. And with this seal, the applicant can seek alternative funding from ESIF or other national and regional sources, who do not have to evaluate again their project quality. An example is this. In Spain, the Recovery and Resilience Fund provided 50 million euros to 30 innovative companies which were previously awarded by the European Union with the seal of excellence. The Spanish call went through the Spanish Innovation Agency and the Center for Technological Development and Innovation. And two companies such as Enzymology and Validated will be used as an example. The first one presented the project Kinetic Finder, an innovative way of discovering new drugs. While the second, Validated, was devoted to digital identity sovereignty, and it was the web security was based on blockchain. Well, in the first case, Enzymology, as you can see, they recognize in the web the seal of excellence of the European Commission, which was vital to obtain the support of the CDTIE. But the usefulness of this seal does not end here, because they also found other investors, such as these private investors, LTTech, Enway Steam, and this public investor, ENISA, who will probably had more problems to support them were it not for the seal of excellent labor. So we go to another part of the talk devoted to other synergies between European programs. And this is the last section. Up to now, we have talked between the synergy between Horizon Europe and the ESIF funds. And in this point, I would like to recommend the report on European synergies of funds. It's very useful because it includes results and challenges of synergies between these funds and bring some key recommendations. Especially interesting is the Annex 1 examples of good practice from member states and observers, and this page is devoted to Bulgaria, but there are many other countries in this report. However, there are other possible synergies, and this is the aim of this section. In addition to the Horizon Europe and ESIF links, there are other dedicated programs. Let's remember the first slide with the Horizon Europe devoted entirely to research and innovation action. Then there were programs including some funds for research. This second part we have seen, and now we go to the third part, programs connected to research and innovation activity, such as Europe for Health, Digital Europe, Connecting Europe Facility, LIFE, Erasmus, and Single Market Program. Now, it's impossible to talk about all these programs, but we are talking about some of the most used ones, which will be, on the left, Digital Europe Program, Connecting Europe Facility, LIFE Program, and Erasmus+. Now, we start with Digital Europe Program. The framework program funds the research on next generation digital technologies, for instance, artificial intelligence, quantum, and so on. And this result then can be further funded by the Digital Europe program, which finance the large-scale deployment and uptake of these technologies and advanced digital skills training. Now we can see this web page with their call of proposal, beneficiaries, and support. We are going now to Connecting Europe Facility, which funds the deployment of physical cross-border infrastructure, such as transport, energy, and digital backbone, which can later serve as real-world testing ground or deployment site for research and innovation results from an FP project. Now we have this web page, and we can see that this facility is devoted to energy, to transport, and to digital technologies. We move to the LIFE program. Here is the web page, and LIFE focuses on the implementation and replication of the best practice for environmental and climate protection, often drawing on research findings from Horizon Europe again, especially those related to the European Green Deal. Now, we can see that this result can be devoted to nature and biodiversity, to circular economy and quality of life, to climate change mitigation and adaptation, to clean energy transition. And there is also a section devoted to the calls, to the particular LIFE calls, and to support of applicants. And finally, we have as an example the Erasmus Plus program, which is devoted, as you know, to education and training. And how can there be synergies? For instance, the research results from a Horizon Europe project, such as a new teaching methodology, can be integrated into the educational networks and mobility schemes supported by Erasmus+. And there are many other examples. And as it's impossible to refer to them all, please see this funding and standards portal, which will have many more interesting additional examples. Now, we are delighted to have our next invited speaker, Rui Muña, who will talk about other aspects of synergies in EU programs. And I will leave my presentation so that he can share his. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and welcome.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you to everybody in the audience, although I don't know. We are under the umbrella of Ministry of Environment, so we have a quite big budget concerning the size of our country. So we are collecting all the environmental penalties and revenues coming from environmental resources and economic sources, and we are redistributing this amount of money. It's around for this year, it's more than 100,000 million euros. So we are redistributing all these funds to the Greek community. Our clients are municipalities, regional authorities. We are supporting also research institutions and universities, NGOs. So we don't support private companies, private industries. And we have also a dedicated amount of money that we are giving to LIFE program, since the Green Fund is also the national contact point of LIFE program in Greece. In Greece, we have in total 3 national contact points, so we are collaborating all together. One is dedicated on energy, the other one is dedicated to climate change, and of course we have environmental and circular economy. So for this year, we have 4 million euros that we are distributing to ongoing projects, and we are co-financing actually these projects. 68 beneficiaries that are implementing LIFE projects, getting funds from the Green Fund. So our help is in an annual basis. We have an annual tender, and regional authorities, municipalities, public authorities actually, and NGOs can get this funding. Just to have a small idea of these funds for this year, the 70 applicants can take around 35 thousand euros. So in some cases we are covering completely the cost of their budget. So as you know, in LIFE program, the percentage of EU funding is 60%, and 40% should come from the own pockets of the applicants. We have some exemptions, which is in clean energy transition. We have 95%. This is something that it came from Horizon program. So this is much more attractive for the applicants. And yes, indeed, we see that there is very big interest from Horizon Europe beneficiaries, that they're coming to LIFE program, since the LIFE program is the implementation, as we heard before. We have many examples also in Greece. One of the most hot sectors is the energy sector. We have examples for energy communities. We have examples for energy symbiosis in industrial sector. District heating, it's some points that the LIFE program is giving a lot of attention. Climate change also projects for mitigation. We have a lot of projects like that. They are coming from Horizon, and they're spreading more through the LIFE program. And of course, heat pumps. And this is some examples that we hear a lot, and since we are collaborating also with the other national contact points in all Europe, we are exchanging also partners and exchanging ideas. This is the main idea. We have some issues. You might hear that life program after 2028, sorry, could face some issues. And this is a fight that we are giving all the NCPs to support the life program and have it after 2028. What we hear is that life program will not exist after 2028, and it will become part of cohesion and competitiveness programs. This is sad stories for the life community, but this is something that it's happening, and we should raise our voices actually. And this is something, but it's our role also in the life committee. So of course we are open for collaborations. We want to come closer. This synergies is the most important thing about EU funding. And since Europe is changing the perspective about environmental protection in general and reducing some resources or getting a different idea of how it should be spent, we should have more synergies and create more collaborations, I think. And we are open always to give our input, and we have also valuable collaboration with all the stakeholders around life committee, and of course it could be beneficiary to all of us.
Thank you very much, Nikos. You gave us really some good impression about the EU Life program, and then the authority and the organization behind that. I must say that, for example, when other colleagues in Cluster 5 or in Cluster 6 tell us about their idea, and in order to make, I mean, if something is not fully compatible with a certain goal in Cluster 5 or in Cluster 6, we always refer them to the EU Life program, because they may have because they can have more let's say eligible activities, more compatible to the applicant's idea. So we will see how will be the next steps if EU Life is changed, if this program is changed into something else. Many thanks, Nikos. Thank you for your for accepting our last minute invitation.
Thank you also.
Well, now for the Q&A, I see that we have one question that was placed. I can read it loud and then give the floor to the panelists if they want to comment. The question is, which are the most interesting calls for the widening teams to make networks for applying Horizon Europe projects? So I open the floor to who wants to give some insights for this question.
I can take the question and answer initially. I don't know if my colleague Rui would like to complement. It's up to him. But generally, the widening calls, all of them to a larger or smaller intensity, they aim in expanding the collaborative networks of the individual participants in the widening action. This is a basic aim of the course, to foster strategic networking within the consortium, as well as increase the visibility of individual participants outside the consortium. So in the answer provided in writing, I have indicated in relation to what is going to be open from the work program 26-27, Light Hope Facility, twinning, which is more institutional about strategic networking, excellence hubs probably, even with the assistance of an ERA chair, a certain group, a research group or research team can increase its visibility and expand its collaborative network. It's just each call has a different, let's say, means to do that. Furthermore, the NCP widerAdvance project offers travel grants of up to 1,000 euros, where applicants from widening countries, irrespective of the legal entity they belong to, they can travel to brokerage events, focusing mainly on the Pillar 2 clusters, and receive a reimbursement of up to 1,000 euros, with the aim, of course, they should make this trip to expand their collaborative networks. Yeah, I hope I've answered this question. I don't know if Rui would like to add anything besides that.
Yes, thank you, Vasiliki. Yes, was yeah, the only thing I would add is probably the fact that I don't know the audience or who is on the other side of the meeting or the screen, and so probably it's important to be familiar first with a more than, like I said in my presentation, more than 10 different funding schemes. Probably the names of the instruments are not familiar to everyone, but it's exactly how you put, Vasiliki. You have all the instruments will promote networking. And so if this is, again, if there's a specific need for networking, then the two main ones are cost and twinning. So cost, like I said, has been around for 50 years. It's directed to people, and so it is the individual who benefits. If you talk about institutional benefit, then twinning is the one which connects institutions. Hop on, like you mentioned in your answer, rightly so, Vasiliki, is exactly for those who want to combine that networking with that entry point into a research project. And so this is probably that's why I think it was spot on to name the Hop On facility, because that is sometimes the real interest of researchers, is to have funding to do research and to have access to a good network. And so this one combines those two desires. But I would again state that it's important that the knowledge of the different instruments is known beforehand, so that that you can map it in your own at the institutional level or individual level, how you want to strategically approach the different calls. So I think that is the big challenge, is first you understand the individual blocks, and then you can build some sort of subway map like I gave you in the presentation. So I think these are the two challenges for beginners. I would say understand the instruments one by one, and then at a different level, start understanding how they complement each other.
Thank you so much, Rui. Your insights are very, very valuable. You are one of the most seasoned national contact points in the widerAdvance community. I would like to add, before I give the floor back to our moderator, that the widerAdvance facility previous webinar was about the networking platforms available by the European Commission, either through NCP networks or other initiatives. Of course, these platforms facilitate online networking as well. So these can also accommodate a good profile and so that individual teams can be seen, and as well as can filter potential applicants of their choice, and step up and request to meet, so increase their networking in this way as well. Yeah, so this was all from my part. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vasiliki. Thank you, Rui, for commenting the question. Well, it seems that we don't have questions coming up now, perhaps because we are extending a little bit beyond the time we have proposed. Or perhaps it means that our speakers have done a great job explaining everything very clearly. In any case, we are available for follow-up questions by email. We will share our email at the end. And we are very happy to reply to you if you have any comments you want to make regarding today's webinar. Now, we had a Slido quiz for you, but I propose, as we are extending our time, to skip this and perhaps go to our survey, our feedback survey. I'm not sure if Vasiliki agrees with this because the Slido was moderated by her, but if you are okay with this, we'll skip the interactive Slido and move for the feedback survey. So I will ask participants to fill a survey that we will place on the chat. I will ask for Inoa if you could share in the chat the link so we could give participants a few minutes to reply. Let's see if this is okay. It's available now. So please take a moment. And I will take this time just to open to the remaining Palestrants if they want to share anything or have some final comments, take home messages to invited persons. If you want, you can open your mic and share your thoughts.
Please find the survey on the chat of the webinar, the direct link.
Well, as we come for the end of today's session, I would like sincerely to thank our speakers. So thank you so much, Vasiliki. Thank you, Alicia, Rui, and Mathieu for accepting our invitation and for your excellent contributions. Also, special thanks to our participants and for the questions that they have made. We hope that today's webinar gives you a clear understanding how different EU funding instruments can complement each other's. And please, we leave here our contacts for further questions that we can address by email. You can also visit the widerAdvance facility webpage to find materials, recordings, and other information for the upcoming webinar sessions. On behalf of FRCT and CSIC, we thank you once again all for joining us today. And from my side, it is all. For me, we ended the webinar very successfully. So thank you so much, everyone. Okay, thank you.
Thanks to all.
Have a
Thank you.
nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.